Hey everyone, it's Ivan, kitbadger.com, out here for another gear review, and today talking warming layers. These right here, which are the Cetra K7 durable pants as well as jacket by Beyond Clothing. What does all that mean? Well, Beyond Clothing has two different lines, one of which is Barry Amendment compliant, meaning it is basically cut, sewn here in the US of US materials, consequently pretty expensive. And then they also have their other line, which is actually made offshore. So they're able to bring technical garments over that are really high quality, but sell them at a lower price point than if they're made here in the US of US materials. Save that stuff for government purchases generally. But the C7 is in reference to level 7. Kind of layering system, right? So level 1, basically next to skin, that base layer, on up to 7, where you get into cold weather. To combat said cold weather, this jacket as well as the pants are filled with 2.4 ounces of Primaloft Gold Eco Insulation. Right here you can see it's basically quilted through the inside, and that insulation is pretty amazing. On the one hand, you have insulation that is compressible, and it also is going to dry really quick and wick moisture. So on the one end you have down, which is amazing, until it gets wet, and then it's pretty much worthless. So this performs basically much better than down, especially once you get into kind of wetter environments. As far as a couple of features, on the cuffs, they're adjustable with Velcro, and then on the inside of the sleeve, you actually have this piece here. So you can punch your hand through it, and what this allows is, one, you can go ahead and seal this cuff up if it's really cold, and then also if you end up having gloves on, things like that, basically it seals it up so you're not getting a draft cutting into your jacket and getting you really cold. In addition to that, you have inside this basically glove pocket. Usually end up throwing my gloves in here, keep them warm if I happen to take them off for some reason, or beanies, basically a stash pocket. You can also throw water bottles in here, keep them from freezing, which is good. Or what I'll do sometimes is put electronics in here so they're staying close to your body, keep them nice and warm so the cold does not kill them. As far as some of the features, on either arm, you have a upper arm sleeve pocket, and then you also have two hand warmer zippered pockets. And then down the front, YKK zippers open from the bottom as well as the top. The bottom opening is actually really nice if you need to access anything on your waistline, or for that matter, just go into the bathroom. And then on either side, on the right side, there's male Velcro. Then on the left side, there's this flap with female Velcro. So once you're zipped up, you bring this across the top, and this keeps wind from basically punching through that zipper right there. And then honestly, probably the most high used pocket with respect to this jacket is there's a zippered Napoleon pocket over on the left breast. So what I'll usually do is put my phone in there, and that way it keeps it close enough to my body where body heat will essentially keep it relatively warm, so the cold does not kill the battery, and it's a lot more difficult to lose comparatively if it was in like one of the side zippered pockets, and also the sleeve pocket where it just honestly won't stay warm enough, kill the battery pretty quick. And then down on the bottom you also have shock cord, so you can cinch that up, keep wind or snow, things like that, coming up under your jacket. And then the face of both this as well as the pants is a 70 denier micro ripstop nylon, I believe it is. Pretty durable material, and also DWR treated. So both these layers really wind resistant as well as water resistant. As far as these pants go, both legs zip basically all the way up the sides, and then you also have a zipper in the front. So I usually unzip the legs all the way down, then you can just go ahead and step into them, pull these guys up. And as far as sizing goes, or like closure rather, you have a zipper up front, you also have this Velcro tab, and then you have this elastic loop. Put that there, and you can adjust that, basically tighten it some, and there's also built-in elastic stretch to these. And then in addition to that, you also have belt loops, which is really huge, being able to actually run a belt through here. I was able to use these during a night vision course when it was really cold. I was able to still run my pistol on a belt running through these pants. And then of course, these side zippers basically zip all the way down. And then at the bottom, you have a little button. You can go ahead and snap that if you want as well. And since these go all the way down and there's two zippers, the ones up top, you can basically run down and mechanically vent if you're getting really hot, or access pockets if you need to do something like that. They also have two hand warmer pockets, both zippered on either side. Ivan, this stuff sounds amazing, like it's magic. Is there anything you don't like about it? Honestly, two things come to mind. On the one hand, basically covering the zippers, there's these little pieces of material, basically keep water, snow, wind pushing through the zipper. Honestly, they're a little bit too small. Oftentimes you end up running the zipper like this, and now that little piece of material is caught in there and it binds the zipper. Not a lot of fun. Basically you have to pull material away from the zipper so you can do that. Why is this happening? Because it's probably a 1/4 inch too short. If that was just a little bit longer, it wouldn't bind on the zippers, which would be really nice. But basically all the pocket zippers bind like that. It can end up being frustrating. The other thing, I don't know if there's a way around it, but the way this works, like this material here, where you can put your thumb through it if you want it like that, that's really nice. Keeps things, or keeps wind and snow and things like that from coming up into your sleeve. But here's the rub. If you wear a watch, one, you no longer have access to the watch, and then because this is nice and like I wouldn't say tight, but snug around here, what it does is it shoves your watch way up your arm to where you probably won't notice it until maybe the next day, and you're like, why is my wrist hurt? And essentially it comes up and it puts tension on all your tendons there. And then when you finally take this thing off and slide your watch back down, you're like, huh, that was weird. And then the next day, basically all this is sore because it's been jammed up there, depending on how long you've been wearing this jacket. And you obviously don't have access to your watch. Can you take your watch off and put it over this? Yes, you can, but if you have some sort of smartwatch, which is actually taking measurements off your body, that doesn't really work. And honestly, I don't want to have to take my watch off and put it back on over my jacket. Sample size of 1, yeah, I don't know a good workaround, but I'm not a big fan of the way my watch interacts with the jacket. With all that said, how do I actually use this stuff? Well, put in a lot of hours with both this jacket and pants. On the one hand, skiing this year, even though kind of outside the scope of like a level 7 garment, mainly made honestly for static stuff. But I found personally this stuff did a great job up there skiing, downhill skiing, in that if it was a really long run, and depending on how warm it was, i.e. was it 20 degrees or was it 32 degrees, you may end up getting hot by the time you got to the bottom, especially on kind of technical runs. But then you're gonna sit there for like 3 or 4 minutes on a chairlift going back up the hill, and this did an amazing job keeping you warm, especially when the wind was up. And most recently, basically lived in this jacket and pants during a 3-day Thunder Ranch class, mid-range rifle down here in Southern Oregon. Amazing class, but you don't get to pick your weather. So it literally snowed the first 2 days, rained that 3rd day. This, I will say, completely invaluable at that course. Why? Well, when you go to a shooting course, you're out of tuition, maybe you had to take time off work, lodging, ammo, all these different costs associated with a class. And then you show up, hopefully to learn something, right? Well, if you're laying there in the prone behind your gun and all you're thinking about is how cold you are and how the snow is blowing into your face, and you really just want the day to be over so you can go back to the hotel room, not really gonna get the experience you showed up for, right? This was huge. It allowed me to just lay down comfortably right there behind my gun, or sitting position, have my gun up on a tripod, snow blowing in my face, like, all right, it is what it is. And it allowed me to honestly get way more out of that course than I would have if I was not well prepared with some really nice warm gear. Also, while this is not waterproof, treated with DWR, snow's basically blowing in all day long under the covered shooting position. So you'd get up, go stretch, walk around, whatever, get a drink of water, come back, some fresh snow is blown in on your shooting mat. You go lay down on it, body heat, melts it, turns to water, DWR treated, eventually it gets wet. But here's the thing, this is not down. And so with that Primaloft Gold, even though I would end up getting wet, usually, like especially in the prone, knees, elbows, didn't really matter. Like, yes, I knew that it was wet, I could feel that, but I was still plenty warm thanks to the insulating properties. Very, very huge. Super clutch at that course. Who do I think this would be good for? Well, people that hate being cold. This stuff will keep you nice and warm. Whether you're just kind of waking up at camp, really easy to throw on the pants, throw that jacket on, now you're nice and toasty, or if you need to be static somewhere. As I mentioned, on the rifle range, shooting, laying there in the snow, or maybe out hunting. Oftentimes, early morning or late in the evening, usually hunting season, it's kind of into fall, can get really cold. And if you're just sitting there thinking about how cold you are, you're obviously not thinking about what's in front of you, being observant, and may or may not have a bunch of excess movement because you're freezing, your teeth are chattering, may end up spooking game. This alleviates that. It allows you to literally be static and be nice and warm. As far as sizing on these goes, this is medium jacket, medium pants, size 34, waist on the medium. I'm just shy of 6 feet, about 175, 180 pounds. This stuff works really good for me. Price-wise, you're looking at about $200 for the pants, $250 for the jacket. Come in a number of colors, black, gray, red. I want to say the jacket actually comes in woodland camouflage pattern as well. Is that expensive? It really depends on what you're doing. If I basically turned any of those guys at that 3-day mid-range rifle class, said, hey, do you want to buy a brand new set of this stuff for $450 on day one? Would absolutely be worth it for probably every one of those people. Because again, if you're going to be somewhere where you have expended resources to get there, whether it's a shooting course, maybe it's just some backcountry adventure, maybe it's on a hunt, something like that, to be cold and miserable during that? No, absolutely not. Whether it's just being cold and miserable or being cold and miserable to the point where you end up scaring game, don't get a shot on an animal, or end up just not getting the information you showed up hoping to get. No, I think honestly that $450 is very well spent. In addition to that, you're probably going to get quite a few years, quite a few seasons of warmth and use out of these garments. But overall, I'd say, yeah, definitely solid. It's a jump. You look at it, it's like, man, that's a lot of money. Once you have it, you're like, oh, couldn't do it any other way. It's an investment in, basically your comfort and well-being for future activities at the end of the day. But been very pleased with this Cetra set C7 by Beyond Clothing. And if you appreciate my content and want to support it, greatly appreciate it. Whether it's liking and sharing videos or going over to kitbadger.com, picking up stickers, KBAT target pads, things like that, or supporting me directly through Patreon for as little as $1 a month, helps me go out, create more content for you. And if you have questions, I'm happy to answer them, not in the comments section, but over on Patreon, we have an active Discord. Answer all your questions over there. But as always, thanks for joining us at kitbadger.com. Look forward to seeing you next time.
I'd like to encourage you to believe the things I do. Fact is something's wrong inside of me. And trying to find it hard.